obviously the Baltimore Ravens. Their defense, man, they picked apart Brock Purdy and the Ravens ended up beating the 49ers 33-19. Brock Purdy throws 4 interceptions in about 3 quarters. I think in 3 quarters he threw the 4 interceptions. Lamar 23 of 35, 252, 2 touchdowns, 45 rushing yards. Zay Flowers just keeps on showing why he was a first round pick. 9 catches, 72 yards, 1 touchdown. They what really impressed me about the Ravens just been their defense. And Gilbert, the one thing that I point at is the stability that the Ravens have had since becoming the Baltimore Ravens. I mean, oh my God, I just forgot their GM, their old GMs.
Ozzie,
Ozzy,
Ozzie's right there.
Ozzie Newsome.
Newsome, not that baseball player.
Yeah. Then and then obviously you have Brian Billick as the head coach. Then it's John Harbaugh. They've just had so much stability. John Harbaugh, honestly, since he took over that team, I know that there's been like some down, but it's basically been up for those guys. And then obviously he won that Super Bowl against his brother a couple of years ago. But they 2 impact guys on that team are Kyle Van Noy and Jadeveon Clowney. Nobody wanted those guys. Like people waited until they waited until the season to get Kyle Van Noy. Jadeveon, I think it was like a couple of days before training camp was up. So just 2 guys that really, I mean, that defense is just so well improved. Guys are putting their hands up as soon as the quarterback's throwing the football. They're doing everything right. And I think that is a team, if you have a GM opening, that's a team that you need to look at to hire your next general manager, because they're one of those teams that has a lot of stability. But Gilbert, what did you see from the Baltimore Ravens?
I'm gonna give them a lot of credit, but I'm gonna focus on what you just said about kind of putting their hands up, batting footballs down. Like if you look at the stats, Fernando, if you're one of those people that just cares about stats, like this is not the game for you, because there wasn't a lot of quarterback hits or sacks, but that pressure got to Brock Purdy. They were all over the place, and I'm trying to Baldy's breakdowns today. By the way, check him out on Twitter. He's great. Like he was just saying, like they're like a zone matchup team where they make you believe there's space for openings, and out of nowhere it just closes. Kyle Hamilton getting an interception. Marlon Humphrey being in the right spot with a bad pass for an interception. Like they're not recording the sacks, but they're just creating chaos, confusion, pressure. And I don't think Brock Purdy was right, was ready for it. And they didn't even allow the 49ers to get into a rhythm offensively with the rushing attack. Christian McCaffrey had that 1 touchdown. That's about it. But when the game was muddy and dirty and it was like, 5-3 or something like that, something weird, or 2-0, it was still a Ravens game, and they kept operating. So, for me, I'm not gonna say that I'm right on the Ravens. I would say I was wrong, but I think I kept taking baby steps with them to the point now where, okay, I believe in you guys. You guys are real Super Bowl contenders. You beat down the 49ers with the complete roster. And I don't want to talk about the 49ers just yet, but you had Debo. You had Trent Williams. Don't give me this crying Trent Williams wasn't playing for the 4th quarter. The game was over by then. Brock Purdy got hurt at the end too. You're fully loaded. You're at home, and you put up that performance against the Ravens. That's a confusing defense. Lamar Jackson being 20-1 against the NFC. He's just something different. Speaking about the stats, Fernando, when you watch Lamar Jackson play, it's not about the passing yard. It's about what he could do away from the pocket, extending plays, confusing the crap out of you. So, good quarterback, great defense, legendary kicker, good head coaches, coordinators. That's a complete team right there. And I think I rest my case. They're Super Bowl contenders in my eyes, at least.
The incredible part is that, like I said, like John really has had a stable unit, and I know a lot of guys get hired, and I mean guys get hired from his tree and everything, and I'm just really surprised that they're not talking more about John Harbaugh for head coach of the year. Because remember, Gilbert, what were the reports before the season started? If John doesn't make the Super Bowl, or if John doesn't make the playoffs, he could be fired. Dude, there'd be a lot of teams that would fire their head coaches just to go get John Harbaugh. Exactly. The only thing I'm not buying, Gilbert, if I'm being completely honest, and I actually thought Lamar had a good game, but this notion of nobody went out to go get Lamar during free agent, like the 2 first-round draft, like that to me is just dumb, because in my opinion, I don't know if Lamar would work anywhere else. I think John has really centered his whole. He changed the way his offense was. Remember, he went from Joe Flacco, a guy that, I mean, he's still playing in the NFL, but he's throwing. He throws the ball downfield. He's one of those quarterbacks that changing it to completely molding over to what Lamar Jackson does. What is Lamar Jackson like? Fast receivers, fast running backs. That's exactly what they've molded over to. And I'm sure for John, it wasn't easy, but he changed everything he did to fit what Lamar did. I just don't know if any other coaches could do that. Experienced coaches. I mean, it would have taken a while. I think it was perfect for the Ravens that nobody tried to go get him and give up 2 first-round draft picks because obviously
and you got to pay him the contract too, the $300 million pretty much.
You have to pay him. You have to give up the picks, and then you have to go get receivers and everything that fit exactly what he does.
And the Ravens probably would have matched it anyways. They had to
exactly.
Right
so it just I just thought that narrative was really dumb last night because I feel like people were waiting to be like, I told you so, and they pulled the trigger early. And they waited till December to freaking tell us, oh, yeah, look, I told you so. Instead of waiting till February or late January to say, okay, I told you so. Like, I'd be waiting, but I'm with you in the sense of this is a dangerous team. It's just, can they stay consistent? What? Because this is the problem with the NFL, and I think this is the problem with everybody, is that next week, if Miami beats them, then the narrative changes and everybody's like, oh, well, Miami now is the best team. Like, the Ravens take a back seat. It's like, there's too much moving and dancing for me, but I do think that the Ravens are tough. They still play that old school football where they're going to punch you in the mouth with their offensive line, and they're going to combat it with a strong defensive line to also do that as well. So they're old school. I like old school. I like what the Ravens have done, but I still have my doubts and questions about the team just because I need to see it a little bit more consistently moving forward. But I was really impressed with what they did, especially because they went into the 49ers. It's hard to go into San Fran and do that to the 49ers. I mean, the Cowboys tried, they got punched in the mouth. Other teams have tried, but I don't know. I am impressed with the Ravens though. They really were impressive, and they came to play. I don't know what's wrong with their defense, the 49ers defense, and today we already saw it. They just signed Sebastian Joseph Day to their
so every time they lose, just go trade for an edge rusher or sign a defensive tackle. Is that what we're gonna do, 49ers, every single time?
That looks like that's their MO, but
I'm not saying Sebastian Joseph Day is gonna make a difference, but they're adding depth, and that's a good thing about John Lynch. But real quick, for now, gonna get to your point to the Jackson line. Like, I feel like either you love him or you hate him, and sometimes it's like, can we just look at everything and add some context? And I think you broke it down, nicely. Like, it's okay to say, hey, Lamar Jackson's a good quarterback, but he's also in a very nice situation. And I started trying to do like the comparison. Like, yeah, Jackson doesn't have the 4,000 yards passing, and he's not like a 300-yard passer every single game, but he's unique. You got a game plan for. I think it was Kyle Shanahan that told the broadcast, like, he's like a two-way player. You got to worry about the structure play, and then what happens away from the play. And that's a lot to kind of take, especially if you're in the NFC. You never get to see that like they do in the AFC North. So I was trying to compare who is like the quarterback who kind of resembles Lamar Jackson. It might be Justin Fields, and you start thinking about it. Well, he doesn't have what he has in Baltimore. That's why he's too inconsistent as a passer. He's more run heavy first and throwing first. And credit to John Harbaugh, he reinvented himself. He went and said, "All right, we need a new OC. Todd Monken, can you help out Lamar to go to the next step?" And gradually, he was completing the passes at 70%, a little dinking and dunking, a little pass to Mark Andrew. And now that he's committed to the scheme, he's pushing that rock down the field, extending plays to likely Zay Flowers, OBJ. Mark Andrews not even on the field. Oh, Mitchell gets hurt. It's okay. Bring in Gus Edwards and you run with Lamar. So his patience really paid off. And then John Harbaugh defensively 2 years ago said, "All right, Mike McDonald, you're a little young, but go work with my brother for a year at Michigan, and then maybe we'll call you back." And he saw what happened. He got on back real quickly. So 2 coordinator hires there, and then having a great surrounding, because if Justin Fields was maybe in Baltimore, maybe he has the same success, but he doesn't have it in Chicago. But yeah, whatever you want to agree with on Lamar Jackson, I think he's a very good quarterback. What he does is very unique. But in terms of the 49ers, Fernando, like, if you're a 49ers fan and you're John Lynch, you're like, I thought we were going to roll. I thought we were a juggernaut. We have a stacked roster, and you can still lose on any given Sunday. Like, isn't that kind of like uneasy for the 49er fans, thinking like, it's finally our year. We're ripping off all these wins. We just stay healthy. We'll beat anybody. You're healthy. You still lost.
especially because you just beat the crap out of the Eagles a couple of weeks ago, and now you're like, well, what? Like now you're looking at it and you're like, well, what are we? If these two teams did meet in the Super Bowl, though, it might be easier for the 49ers to adjust what they did than for the Ravens to adjust, because they're going to be like, oh, well, maybe it would be better. But they really, I don't think, I think it'd be too brash to make a coach or a quarterback change for the 49ers.
Oh, no.
I think Brock Purdy is the guy you go with, but you have to realize what he is. And that's why I've kind of said that it's not Christian McCaffrey versus Brock Purdy for the MVP. If you don't have Brock Purdy on that team, you're still a pretty good team. If you don't have Christian McCaffrey, you're probably not as good of a team as what many would say. So I think that's
kind
of
what with Sam Darnold. I'll just say that for now. I've seen Sam Darnold too many times. Please don't go back to that.
No. But I'm saying, like, but if you took each of them, like, you'd rather take Purdy. Sam Darnold and keep CMC than go with Brock Purdy and no CMC. So that's kind of where I'm saying. But yeah, no, I don't think there's any excuse that the 49ers can make. Like, they got punched in the mouth. They have Brandon Ayuk, Deebo Samuel. They have played. I mean, Jawan Jennings didn't play, but I mean, yeah, and the guy's good, but there's no excuse that you can make to that. You got punched in the mouth, and that's just what happened. And I mean, like I said, John's a great head coach that reinvented himself, that did everything that he needed to. And like you said, he hired coordinators from the college game, brought them in, and now both of them are, I'd say both of them are probably inclined to get head coaching looks. I don't know if they would take it. That's why I was telling you, Gilbert, the other day, that if I'm a guy like Patrick Graham, if the job isn't good, why would you want the title of head coach if the job isn't for you? Like, you don't just want to go take a job to be a head coach for the shits and giggles of it. Like, you want to do it because you really believe in the ownership and the general manager and in their vision. And if you can't believe in all that stuff, just stay and do what you're doing and just continue to grow. I mean, it's not, if you continue on doing your job and doing it at a high place, you're going to get a good coaching gig, but you just have to believe in all that. But but going back to Baltimore, they're a tough, they're a gritty group, and I kind of feel like they kind of use that, like, that Napoleon-like syndrome. I don't know what it is, but they always just come and they always punch teams in the mouth. And that's just what interests me about them, is that they're really aggressive. They have some good, like I said, Kyle Hamilton, Marlon Humphrey.
Yeah. Hopefully he's okay, by the way. He left with a knee injury.
Yeah. But he was laughing on the sideline, and so hopefully he is. But the biggest thing, and I saw it today, Kyle Van Noy tweeted it out. He's like, how the Bears let Roquan Smith go is beyond me. And you got to wonder that too. I mean, he really has been a huge addition for this Ravens team. And they just have such, and that's what I told you a couple of weeks ago, that their linebacking core is, or maybe I told it to Dan and Dago when we were breaking down Ravens versus Chargers. They have two of the best linebacking duos in the NFL. Like, these guys are really good. They fly all over, and they're really aggressive. They just have a complete unit all around. So
Patrick Queen was pretty much like a Kenneth Murray level for a couple of years, and then Mike McDonald came and turned his career around.
Yeah, and that's why coaching matters. And so it's just and I'm, well, not just Mike McDonald though. The addition of Roquan Smith obviously
that definitely helps.
Well.
Yeah, having somebody else. But like, look at the 49ers. They also have Dre Greenlaw and Fred Warner. So having two in today's era where everybody wants to just, throw the football down the field. No, like, you still need to have good linebackers to stop the run and also keep a spy on the quarterback and kind of do a little bit of everything. And both those teams have that. But for now, the Ravens defense have the secondary with Marlon Humphrey and Kyle Hamilton. So they have a more complete defense. And the 49ers pass rush, if they can't get there and it's tough to get to Lamar Jackson, they don't have the secondary. They're not as bad as
they kept missing him too.
Yeah, like it's not as bad as the Eagles because they have the linebackers, and they don't have to worry about Lamar Jackson in the NFC postseason. But the whole goal is to win the freaking Super Bowl for the 49ers. And what if you run into that team again? It could be an issue. And I don't know. But I'll ask. We can end with this if you want. But like, do you see these two teams back in the Super Bowl as a rematch? Because it's kind of hard not to say yeah.
NFL Mike put up a thing saying that, like, the color scheme of the Super Bowl is in the last 3 years has been what the Super Bowl is going to be, and the color scheme this year is purple and red. So it seems like it's going to be 49ers. No, and I'd love to see this again, especially because And I'm not gonna lie, like that stat that they threw up yesterday, where like Kyle Shanahan is like 0 and
Oh, go on
77 being
38 now. Oh, sorry. Is it
0
something
and
else?
38. Oh,
On
is that
the when you're trailing by 8 points and any
yeah?
point in the fourth quarter. Yeah, 138.
That's very alarming, especially because we all know Kyle Shanahan has a bit of Reggie Miller in him, where like
You mean
yeah.
the Knicks
So
or the
well, yeah.
or yeah.
The he kind of choked, so that's not a good look. So and that's what I've kind of noticed about the 49ers. If they don't get off to hot starts, they're not like you can basically stiff arm them out, and you know you're gonna win the game. Like if you're facing like a Mahomes, Herbert, guys like those kind of guys, like that they give you at least that scary chance of, oh, you know what, you have to keep the gas on the pedal
Yeah.
at all times. If not, those guys can come back. Joe Burrow, like those kinds of guys. But
Like, what if like the Rams, like maybe in a playoff matchup, or the Lions, or even the Eagles, just jump out to a big lead on the 49ers? You have to play from behind. That could be trouble in the postseason.
that's going to be a lot of trouble because they just don't seem to be able to come back with their offense, and that's the limitation of Brock Purdy, and that's the thing that the 49ers had to have known when they selected him to be their starting quarterback, is that this isn't a guy that's going to lead you on comebacks or any of that. Like, you have to get off to a hot start. If not, he's going to struggle to get you back in the game, and that's just the truth. I mean, it's no knock on him. It's just you have to go get you like, if you really want to win a Super Bowl, you're going to have to go get a game changer. Hell, even with Lamar, I know I've said before that the Ravens are the ones that have to get off to a fast lead as well, which yeah, sometimes they do. But I'm sure Lamar could lead a fourth quarter comeback and do stuff like that.
Yeah,
I'm like,
they got pushed by the Rams not too long ago, and I think they actually made them some good, like for the long term, like
yeah,
playing like in the shootout like that.
no, that definitely helps, and especially because we all know that the Rams are. I mean, they have good coaching, they have a great front office, but yeah, Kyle
You want
Shanahan
to
is.
respond to a theory, or are we moving on?
I already said 3 times at the year. Yeah, you won this one, but I'm just surprised that everybody's boasting now and not waiting until February to see if he wins the Super Bowl. But I'll let you guys have your victory lap. Two examples of two teams getting after this weekend: the Ravens and the Raiders knocked two quarterbacks off their pedestal this year. Anything can happen.
Yeah.
I like the Rams' chances. Happy New Year to you as
Yeah,
well,
Happy New Year.
Delbert.
Dilbert's been
Yeah.
telling me that all year because I'm always like the negative one. Like, yeah, they're not.
Oh, so he's the House of
I'm
Rams.
not Mike
Oh,
Florio saying like a team's gonna get the crap beaten out of them, but sometimes I'm like, that team's really good, and I don't think they could beat that team or that team. But he's always telling me like any week you could be an upset, and especially on Monday Night Football. There's a bunch of upsets, man. I can't believe I think I've missed on all of them. By the way,
but I mean, that's just, and I told you at the beginning of this year, this is going to be a weird year. Like, and especially because, and you know, the funny part, you and I both kind of called the Chiefs struggling this year. I mean, we said that the Chargers were going to be
Super Bowl
the ones
fatigue.
that took the division, but the Chiefs are really struggling, and it feels like anybody can really come out this year and take this Super Bowl. But I don't know. Well, I guess people prop up Brock Purdy. I don't think I've really propped up Brock Purdy at all. So I don't.
It's like the Lamar Jackson arguments. Either you
Yeah,
really love the guy, or you think he's just like a fraud or something. And all the people
yeah,
like Cam Newton, by the way, yesterday was taking a victory lap. So people who think he's like the negative game manager, people don't like that term. I think he's the best quarterback they've had since Kyle Shanahan got there, and I think that more reasons to keep hyping up the guy. But yeah, I'm okay with toning it down and saying he's not the MVP. That's okay with me too.
yeah. No, I completely understand. But yeah, anything can happen this year. This is a completely different year, and I feel like there's no front runner for anything. I mean, yeah, right now everybody's saying the Ravens are the best, but next week they could lose to the Dolphins, and then you're like, oh, well,
Yeah, that should be a
whatever.
good one.
So yeah, no, and Athir just said that the Miami will get smashed 34 to
He's all
17.
in. I
He
like it.
really is all in with the
Once the
Ravens.
Chargers are done with it, he's like, okay, I'm all in with a new team.